Hi, today we're going to do the real quick Reader's Digest version of Buddhism, and then I'll talk about how I use it in some of my other practices. But Buddhism for me is very, very important. I incorporate meditation into my practice, and I've read the Buddhist Bible, the Dhammapada, and all these other writings. The Tibetan Book of the Dead is really, if you're fascinated with the occult, that's a must read because it's instructions for the newly dead on like what's happening to them, how to deal with being dead. And it honestly, the reason it's fascinating for me is because it really matches up with like my psychic experiences where when I used to see ghosts as a child, sometimes they wouldn't move, and it talks about waveless motion for dead people, and that it takes all this extra energy for them to be able to do that. So it's a really fascinating read. Anyway, you can all go check that kind of stuff out for yourselves. Siddhartha Gautama, or I have butchered his name, but that is Buddha, the real man, and he was a prince of a wealthy guy, and he was locked away, given everything that he ever wanted, and essentially spoiled. So one day, though, he talks to his servant, and his servant he goes, "What's wrong with this guy? He can't walk right." And the guy goes, "Well, he's sick. He's a leper. He can't walk." So Buddha's like, "Is he always like this? Is there a cure?" And he says, "No, he's always like that. Yes, that's just how he has to live his life." And then Buddha says, is what happened to this person? He just sees him laying in the street as they're going to another palace. He's dead. Does everybody die? Everybody dies, really. Like men, women, old, everybody dies. And this just profoundly impacted Buddha. He needed to know more. So that thought kind of disillusioned him with all that. So he goes out into the forest, and he does what a lot of the other Hindus do, which was what was around at that time. Meditate, eat little, stay away from society, and you'll find enlightenment. You'll find the real purpose to life. So he does that for years, and he abandons his wife and his child in the process, because Buddha was 29 when he had this spiritual awakening. So he does that, and he's away for a long time, and he gets enlightenment from meditation and all the altered state of consciousness you would get from meditating and eating very little. And he says to himself, "You know what? We die, we get sick, we get old, but there's meaning to this. The avoiding all of this is not the point. It's you have to engage. You have to accept the permanence of impermanence and be able to just live your life in this engaged way. But you can't, like, the key for Buddhism here, don't think that everything is so real that it controls you. If you have something devastating happen to you, it's not the totality of your life. It's not, it's just this moment. And by realizing these kinds of things, this really helped me. You can have some control and realize the moderation. So by choosing to be present and grounded and balanced in your life, you ascend. I mean, while I have a body, I can work on my problems. I can form more and more of my identity and do shadow work and really become, ascend. Because without a body, It is possible in ways, but it's really just looking for more ways to become ego again, to continue to work on these things. And obviously, as you can tell, with my real strong pull towards belief in reincarnation, that's why Buddhism also speaks to me. You don't have to believe in reincarnation to be Buddhist. But that's another theme, is that, you know, it's just your body's just a vessel, and if it, you know, most of the time people do experience death as oblivion, but nevertheless there's this whole process of needing to come back to continue to work on yourself. So with that in mind, it's like each life is very important. I've heard people say that, oh, well, if we reincarnate, well, why care? I mean, why care about whatever life? But to me, that really doesn't make any sense, because this moment, this life is vastly important, and that's kind of thinking of, you know, religious kind of stuff where the afterlife is placed as important. But for me, this life is really highly important, and my other beliefs, the other things that I emotionally feel, you know, they're not as important as reality, and finding that value here. So, that's really it, and that's kind of, I guess Buddhism in a nutshell. Buddha goes back and he, he's with his wife, and he is a good father to his son, which is important. I mean, honestly, that's the happy ending I want to see, because, you know, Buddha it's really like a story about a regular guy to me, realizing that I'm here, it's really special to be with my family and my own flesh and blood. That is really important. And but you know, Buddhism also kind of is that sort of, for me it really is saying, hey, be attached to things, because attachments are important. Be careful. Choose what you're going to be attached to. Don't just mindlessly become addicted, because, you know, we have moderation, abstinence, and excess, and moderation is really the key. So pick and choose your attachments, because you're consuming what you consume also consumes you. That's another Buddhist thing. It's an idea. You eat your McDonald's meal, and you consume it. But it also consumed you, because it probably took like 3 minutes off the end of your life, hardening your arteries a little bit. You read a book that gives you some profound knowledge. You consume that. It also consumed you, because now you're never going to be the same person, because now you have this new knowledge, and it's the self transformed. So it's energetically changed. That's what that consumed thing really means. It's not necessarily like you're fucking dying, but that you are forever changed by each thing, whether you're having a meal or reading a book or having an experience. This is these attachments, and it's attached to you, and you're attached to it, whatever it is, whatever who is. But then you can also understand that, hey, everybody has to do this.